cars. Driver Carrington gets dumped by Benami. The leaders are winding up here at Daytona. The big one is out. Good morning, race fans. Welcome back to the Metro Ford Cup Series here at the Old Bashers Racing League. We're making our way out to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for today's feature event. As always, my name is James East with Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, bringing the action 1080p, 60 frames a second. As right now, alone qualifying is underway for these drivers. It's Eddie Jones sitting on top of pole with a 30.3, but a lot of fast drivers still making their way out. As we're going to check in on Robert Garisco to see what he's able to do in that number 28 machine, making his way out. As always, thank you so much for everybody that tunes in each and every week, supporting the drivers, supporting the league, and supporting the broadcast. Couldn't do it without you guys. And as always, let us know who you're cheering for, where you're from. A lot of these drivers will have the broadcast up on a separate screen or just about always going back and watching it afterwards. As we've got about 21 drivers that have put down qualifying times, 43 drivers made their way out for the Metro Ford Cup Series every Sunday morning. Garisco comes around for his final lap, trying to improve on a 32.35. Let's see what he can do here. Does Garisco improve just ever so slightly with a 31.68, good enough for 20th. As we are 6 minutes in, a lot of drivers still waiting to go out. Greg McDaniel, though, is out on track in his Chevrolet. And the fans are already discussing, will Dwayne MacArthur, the fast Canadian, try and make it 3 in a row here today, as he's had quite the dominant season. So if you haven't been here, first of all, where have you been? But at the season opener at Daytona, Dwayne MacArthur set it on top, and then last week at Auto Club, he was able to make it 2 for 2. So now all the pressure is sitting on that Canadian's shoulders to see what he's going to be able to pull out of his magic Canadian hat. As MacArthur is qualified second today, he was about 0.05 of a second off from Eddie Jones. As McDaniel propels himself all the way up to 9th with his qualifying run. Hinchcliffe going out for qualifying. Not a lot of time left, about 3 minutes left for these drivers to try and put down a time. I'm not seeing too many triple-digit drivers, too many rookies or returning drivers to the Metro Ford Cup Series. We've got Crank Bell in the 116, and we've got Dan Hill in the 112. Those two drivers will be unable to qualify. They are running the triple-digit numbers. As Hinchcliffe will invalidate his second lap there. He'll have to settle with a 30.96, his first timed lap. Let's see who else is going out on track. Bruce Pearson, number 22 Ford Mustang, making his way out. Good to see so many drivers. The third week in a row, we have capped off the limit. Only 43 drivers able to make their way out. More than that were queued up trying to join, as Bruce Pearson with a 32.17 will be 31st. Jones, though, still holding on to pole position. But Josh Robinson in the number 23 machine is going to try and dethrone that 14 Chevrolet sitting in the top spot. Robinson with Team Miata running the Ford Mustangs this season. Supporting the title sponsor, emetroford.com. If you're looking for a new or used vehicle, check them out, emetroford.com. They will get you financed and they can get it delivered to your house. And it seems like that's going well for Robinson as he takes over the pole position with a 30.27, edging out Eddie Jones here. As that will most likely complete qualifying for most of these drivers. We will get ready for today's event. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to go racing. And we've got some great action for you. Let's go ahead and run it through the massive grid here tonight. Josh Robinson starts on pole. Eddie Jones starts second. Wayne McCarthy, the fast Canadian, starting third. Kevin Strandberg starting fourth on the grid tonight. Dakota Pischke starting fifth. Steve Thompson making his way back out after a brief hiatus. He'll be starting sixth. Patrick Milligan starting seventh. Bob Light starting eighth. Tim Kennedy ninth on the grid. Greg McDaniel starting 10th. Jeff Lydon starting 11th. Johnny Tilton starting 12th. And we've got Mike Schrader starting 13th, Jonathan Green 14th, Joey Buscemi starting 15th, Brian Glass 16th on the grid, Andrew Hess starting 17th, Lee Warsdale starting 18th, Joel Tech starts 19th, Brian Lynch 20th on the grid, Carl Burke starting 21st, John Hinchcliffe 22nd, Lewis Albee starting 23rd, Al Turner starts 24th, cycling it back to Joe Brown starting 25th, Brian Lindsay starting 26th, John Brown starts 27th, Kevin Eignier starting 28th, Dale Copeland starts 29th. Dean Gear starting 30th. Robert Garisco 31st. Bruce Pearson starting 32nd. Jode Hoskins starting 33rd. Dan Hill starts 34th. Ken Huff starting 35th. Crank Bell starting 36th. Then for the final time, we've got Lloyd Moore starting 37th. John Hastings starting 38th. William Fletcher starts 39th. Brian McRubbin starts 40th. Larry Corey starting 41st. Bert Dodson starting 42nd. And Tom Ogle will round out the field. Wait a minute. When did Tom Ogle get out on track? Now, we knew Ogle had internet problems early on tonight. I don't think he miraculously was able to join in, so he will be serving a did not start by accident here. Gonna be interesting what happens at Las Vegas. 43 drivers making their way out to the mile-and-a-half raceway. As we get confirmation, does not look like Tom Ogle is going to make it out here today. If he is able to join, it will be very, very late. A shame, as we do love watching Tom Ogle drive. And here we go at Las Vegas to get the party started. Robinson and Jones on that front row. MacArthur and Strandberger second row. Dakota Pischke and Steve Thompson making his way back out of a very brief retirement. Coming to battle hard with a lot of new names and faces here at the Metro Ford Cup Series. Robinson trying to get up there with Jones, but Jones, after getting dethroned in qualifying, saying, hey, you know what? I want the top spot. I want to lead some laps here on a Sunday morning. We also got a report that Ken Huff in the 46 machine did not start as well, so not sure what he's got going on. Hopefully we see him out there later on this afternoon. As already the field getting mostly single file. Kevin Strandberg in the 58 machine looked like he wanted to take a peek at Steve Thompson's number 67 machine, but not quite able to do so. As the field, interesting to see how quickly they went single file. Normally you see a lot more dicing around as we say that. It looks like we got a little too wide action here in the battle for 12th back. That's Lyden, Green, Schrader, Tilton, Hess all in the fray here. As McDaniel and Buscemi also going side by side. Buscemi working the inside line against McDaniel's number 30 machine. This will be the battle for 10th on screen right now. Buscemi already up 5 spots from where he started. Man, it seems like just yesterday Buscemi was out here with his triple-digit numbers trying not to make any waves, so good to see him graduated to the 2-digit number class. As up ahead, oh, what's this? A late entry. Tom Ogle has made his way out onto pit road. He'll be starting 5 laps down. Ogle is going to see if his internet can hold up to it. Get out there, turn some laps, and maybe hope that some late race cautions come into his favor. And we are going to have a caution flag, and that may serve well for Mr. Tom Ogle. As John Brown involved in that one. We're going to have to back that one up because that one looked mighty violent. Brown, the 16 machine, looks like he comes down, gets hooked in the 18, and just a wild ride, trying to see who else was collected in that one. But already the big one out here at Las Vegas. I believe that's going to be Pearson heavily involved. We're showing Dodson and Hoskins possibly involved. But from my understanding, it's Pearson and Brown. We're definitely tied up in that. We're going to see who else comes down pit road. And that will be our first caution of the night. So it looks like McRubbin, Dodson, Brown, Bell, Pearson, and John Brown all come down pit road. So that's a good indicator that they were tied up in that early madness here, collecting 4 or 5 good cars, and unfortunately, a lot of next-gen bodywork sacrificed to the racing gods here at Las Vegas. Good to see the friends, the usual suspects, join us here today. We got Dustin Martinson, Kingfish Racing, Victory Lane Sports, all tune out. And yes, same with you guys, a little surprised, a early race caution. Definitely not the norm here at the Metro Ford Cup Series. But we'll get them gridded back up. Double file. It's going to be Jones and Robinson in the front row. Pischke, MacArthur, your second row. Milligan and Thompson, your third row. My, oh my, is that a lot of familiar names and faces up in that front couple of rows. As we're all watching as well, Tom Ogle going on lap 5, about 4 laps down from the leaders. If the cautions keep coming out and Ogle can just keep his nose clean, there is still a chance he can salvage some points tonight. As well as we're keeping an eye on Dwayne MacArthur, the fast Canadian 83 machine, who's trying to pull off the hat trick here at the Metro Ford Cup Series, making it 3 wins in a row. As we will wait for our iRacing pace car to make its way down, and we will start with our first restart of the evening. Here we go, pace car is in. And away they go for more green flag racing. Jones gets a spectacular launch, number 14 machine. Is he going to try and drop low in front of Robinson? Diving into turn 1, or is he going to allow Robinson to try and make something happen here? As everybody trying to make some moves, here comes Dakota Pischke on the outside line, not able to make that move happen against Robinson. Robinson in the bright blue and black number 23 machine with yellow letters. Pischke in the monster back number 1 machine, the primarily black. And then you've got Dwayne MacArthur in his signature paint scheme, the Pepsi paint scheme in the 83 machine. As our race leaders breaking down single file, you have to go back to Patrick Milligan and Tim Kennedy are going side by side, but already another caution coming out. As drivers scatter, it looks like it was Mike Schrader showing in the initial incident. What is in the water here tonight, ladies and gentlemen? Watching Mike Schrader gets a little bit snapped, lose number 4 machine, and just goes careening around. And oh my goodness, what a save for some of the other drivers. Some drivers not having that luck. As it shows Schrader, Hastings, Burke, all involved in that incident. What is going on? I mean, other races we've had didn't have these sorts of incidents, and tonight, a bit of a bloodbath early on. Very peculiar, ladies and gentlemen. So now Milligan comes down pit road. I don't think he was involved in the incident, but there's a lot about 26th place back, all on pit road. Yeah, we got to keep an eye on Ogle. He may be. Oh, there's Ogle now taking his lucky dog. And the White Claw back number 11 machine, the Seltzer paint scheme for 2022. But we're going to keep an eye on Ogle through tonight's race and see if the racing gods smile in his favor, if he can just kind of keep hanging out towards the back, collecting the lucky dog waiver rounds. And it may look good here to make something happen. This will be our second caution of the night. Quite an uncharacteristic start for these drivers. As we are once again too wide and very far deep. Looking like about 34 drivers on the lead lap. Everybody inside the top 16 has opted not to pit from about 17th back. We've got drivers starting to take tires and take fuel. Going to be interesting with how those early cautions have come out. What's more important, the fresh tires or maybe track position? As it looks like very quickly the top 8 or so, 8 to 10 drivers were happy hopping into a single file groove, but the madness happening a little bit further back in the field as we're focused on Eddie Jones and Josh Robinson. They'll be on the front row once more, getting the practice in for restarts. Pace car is in. And the green flag is out once more. Jones has been getting very solid launches here tonight, working that outside. MacArthur's going to follow him on the high line as it looks like Jones is setting up to go low here. No, he doesn't. So MacArthur's going to be by himself trying to get around Dakota Pischke. Pischke hopping down the inside line, no draft support. But MacArthur regains third place. As a little bit further back, there's still some action going on. That's Joey Buscemi and Kevin Strandberg going side by side. Behind them, Light McDaniel also putting on some too wide action as somebody goes way down low. That's Jonathan Green. Hold on to it, Jonathan. Narrowly avoids coming back out in the track. An excellent save from the number 37 machine, but he's going to be all the way down the apron and finds himself falling like a stone back to about 32nd place or so. What a night here at Las Vegas, chewing them up and spitting them out as it is Jones, Robinson, MacArthur, your top three. Are we going to get any green flag racing going on as we've got more side-by-side action? That was Lewis Albee all the way down the bottom. He was overtaken by Jeff Light and Brian Lynch. Hess and Warsdale doing a little bit of side-by-side racing as well. Hess working the inside groove of the number 54 machine, getting around the 99 of Warsdale, no problems there. What a spectacularly wild night here in Las Vegas. Thompson makes his way around Buscemi after they go back and forth a couple times. Thompson wants to get up there and hold on to that top 5 spot. But Buscemi and the 56 machine not going to make it easy here as they go side by side in the battle for 5th. Buscemi on the low line right next to Thompson. Thompson has the draft from Pischke. It looks like Buscemi will settle into the groove. As here comes Tim Kennedy as well, but no, Thompson's not going to settle. He's going to keep charging forward. His first race back of the season, right on the bumper of his teammate Dwayne MacArthur, running 3rd. Eddie Jones still hold on to the race lead here. As Thompson, excuse me, no, that's going to be MacArthur trying to work on Josh Robinson's number 23 machine. Maybe, just maybe, we'll see a long green flag run start to develop now. These drivers inside the top 14 have all stayed out since the beginning of the race. It's going to be about 15th place back. You're going to start finding some drivers that took fuel and tires, so may see some alternative pit strategies coming into play tonight. As already Jones is going to very quickly have a company as far as lap traffic goes. We still have 34 drivers on the lead lap out of the 43 that originally signed up. Again, Ken Huff was a did not start. Ogle was unable to get out on the grid in time, but has made a couple laps back just from early fortune in his case of the yellow flags and drivers getting chewed up. But what is Jones, Robinson, MacArthur, Thompson, Pischke going to do here as they approach lap traffic? Oh my goodness. That was Dode Hoskins, number 66 machine is going to go a lap down here as the leaders come charging by. Jones still looking for his first win this season as well. Will have the luxury of being the first driver to cut through traffic here. As traffic trying to avoid the race leaders not getting themselves involved in anybody else's race. I believe that I thought that may have been Jonathan Green, but I don't think that was the case. It looks like everybody's going to get through nice and easy here. Robinson still on the back bumper of Jones. MacArthur about a quarter of a second off of Robinson. Oh, Robinson looks like he's going to get set up here going into turn 3 to make a move on Jones for the race lead. Side by side, coming out of 4. Who's going to be at the line? Still showing Jones ahead by just a couple hundredths of a second. But I think Robinson's going to have it here going into turn 1. He's going to send it up deep on the inside line. But looks like Jones carrying just a little bit more momentum on that higher groove. And Jones will hold on to it for another lap as Robinson tries to measure up the 14 machine. Now this may slow down the pace ever so slightly. As Dwayne MacArthur able to catch up. Watching to see what the top 2 drivers are doing as far as the battle goes out on track. Now, this is the type of green flag racing that's normally, well, I don't want to say the norm, but normally what we're accustomed to here at OBRL. As look at that, your race leaders all bunched up. Less than a half second separating those 3 drivers going into turn 1. Now, talking to the drivers before tonight's broadcast, they kind of gave us a heads up. They're expecting about 58 to 63 laps of fuel able to go on a green flag run. It's going to be interesting to see how those early cautions maybe throw a wrench in things, as here comes MacArthur trying to battle up the inside line of Robinson. Behind them, Thompson and Buscemi also going at it. As the field starts to bunch up side by side down the back stretch for second place. We've seen Robinson try this same move and not quite able to make it stick against Jones. So we are 2 wide and 2 deep from the battle for second through 4th. This may allow Jones a chance to breathe in the race lead, but not for long, as he will soon have traffic to contend with as well. As behind him, everybody fighting frantically for position. MacArthur has to back out of it ever so slightly, giving Robinson a chance to relax, if not for just a corner or 2. Lap drivers making their way up onto the high line. I believe that was Crank Bell, one of the triple-digit drivers hugging the wall to avoid interfering with anybody's race. And now Robinson with a little bit of momentum. Looks like he's going to put the pressure on Jones, your race leader. We'll pull up the live timing tower on the left side of your screen to see where your favorite driver currently resides. Now, looking back at the 2021 season, I didn't see a single driver that was able to make it 3 in a row and pick up the hat trick. It's always been interrupted by another fast driver at some point. So it's going to be interesting to see if MacArthur can do something that hasn't been done in quite a long time. But Robinson, still hungry for his first win of the season, is going to stay right there with Jones and keep the number 14 machine just within striking distance. Right now it's Chevy out front, Ford second. Chevy also running third. Our fastest Toyota will be Steve Thompson, the number 67 machine. He's our fastest Camry out on track. Lap traffic once again yielding the line to the race leaders, trying not to get tied up in anything. Inkfish heading out for the night. Good seeing you. Thank you for tuning in, supporting the broadcast. As Jones and Robinson have a bit of a breakaway from MacArthur and Thompson. Thompson has his hands full with Tim Kennedy, Kevin Strandberg, Dakota Pischke, Bob Light, Joey Buscemi, and Greg McDaniel, all in that second pack of drivers. As we pan back to Jones, who is unable to shake off Robinson. But now Jones has a little bit of a gap, 2/10 between him and Robinson. I'm wondering at this point in the stage if Robinson's going to have the tires to make any big moves. These drivers right now are about 6/10 off their fastest laps of the race. They got down to just below the 31-second mark early on in the run. And right now they're running about 31.6s all across the field. As Robinson looks to the inside quarter panel of Jones, coming out of 2. Not quite able to work the side draft like he was looking for. And that is allowing MacArthur, running third, and the gaggle of drivers behind him to 10th to start to slowly catch up to that lead pack. Robinson goes high, Jones answers. Once again, Robinson looking low this time by, what's it going to be, a drag race to the tri-oval. Jones showing ahead by 0.05 of a second. We've seen Robinson try and work that inside line before without the luck, as Jones was able to carry just a little bit more momentum around the outside. What's going to be this time is now MacArthur joins the fray. He's going to give his draft support to Jones to try and push that number 14 machine clear of Robinson, so maybe MacArthur can take over the second place spot as we're side by side for the lead once more. MacArthur trying to figure out what driver he wants to follow here, using the draft of both. It'll still be Jones at the front as they cross the line. And behind them, Thompson and Kennedy go side by side. Looks like MacArthur trying everything he can on that higher line to get the draft of Jones and work that 83 machine up into second. Traffic hopping out of the way. The race leaders once more. Well done. Now, I'm not sure what happened to Ogle. He now shows in P38 that he came in on pit road on lap 4 and showing almost 16 laps down from your race leaders. So not having the good luck he was looking for tonight. As there will be a whole lot of traffic in front of Jones, Robinson, MacArthur, your top three. They're getting quite bunched up there. Oh, a little bit of contact there between Thompson and Strandberg. Around goes Thompson, collecting the 58 of Strandberg, and that will bring out another caution. That was a crash that took a little while to develop here. Watch Thompson and Strandberg get into each other in the middle of your screen. Thompson gets all sorts of unsettled from there. I believe he's going to tag the outside wall. Pogo across the track. No, that wasn't Strandberg initially. That was Kennedy in the 68 machine, and Strandberg just an innocent bystander. That's going to collect some more cars here. And bring out our third caution of the night. Thompson takes the tow back to pit road, so it's showing Thompson, Strandberg, Pischke all involved in that one. And now everybody's going to come in mass down pit road. I can't imagine many drivers are going to stay out here. What a wild night, though, ladies and gentlemen. Things have been getting heated at Las Vegas. While we have time, we're going to try and take another look at that and see what happened and transpired. There's Thompson. Whatever setting I just changed didn't help it. Oh no, we're focused on Eddie Jones. We're trying to focus on Thompson. Not good, not good, not good. But we're going to try this again. This time with fresh tires and a full fuel for the majority of the field. Jones and Robinson still in the front row as away we go. MacArthur, McDaniel, your second row. Glass and Lynch, your third rows to the top five, rapidly changing. But what will not change is the heated battle we've seen between Jones and Robinson. Is Robinson going to try and use up a little bit more tire here at the beginning to try and get clear of Jones? But Jones has other plans. Holding on to it in that number 14 machine. Unfortunately, MacArthur no longer has his teammate Thompson up there in the mix to lend a hand to the 83 machine. And what's this? The caution coming out already? Not seeing it on the crash report on who is involved in that one. Trying to see where it may have been at and see if we can kind of draw some conclusions. I think it may have been Fletcher possibly involved in that one. Hinchcliffe comes down pit road. It was just ahead of Fletcher. What is that? It's hard to tell because the car's so mangled. It looks like not the 59 of Dawson, it's Hinchcliffe. What happened to Hinchcliffe? Oh, just gets loose and then gets helped out along the way. And more drivers sacrificing some body work on these next gens. And that will be our 4th caution of the night. Now, interesting, normally the broadcasting software does a fantastic job picking up on any problems or woes. Try and take one more look at that and see where things went wrong for Hinchcliffe, who now finds himself sitting back in pit road. Not sure what's going on with our replay transition tonight as well, but so many drivers getting tied up in the mix there. So let's get ready and try things again. As it has been a caution fest here tonight. I believe that was our 4th caution. And a very uncharacteristically rough race for these drivers. But we will get ready to try this once more, see what we can do. Pace car is in. Here we go. Jones and Robinson can't get away from each other on the front row. As somebody has a massive blink back there. Not quite sure who that was. Wait for a lap time to update. There we go. 60 laps in of this main event. 100 more laps left to go for these competitors. A lot of drivers who have unfortunately been forced into an early retirement here. As it looks like Hinchcliffe, Burke, Brown, Ogle, Schrader, Thompson, all showing as retired, as well as Kevin Strandberg unable to get back out on track. And Jones will hold on to the race lead with Josh Robinson right in tow. MacArthur rounds out the top three. As look at that, Robinson trying to force the issue on the inside line. Will Jones be able to keep that outside momentum we've seen lap after lap? It looks like this will not be the case as Robinson crosses the line as your race leader. What will Jones do? We've seen that outside line have a lot of speed, but now Robinson will be able to slot up in the high line as well. So for the first time tonight, Robinson, your race leader, Jones second, MacArthur running third. So now it'll be the first time we get to see what Eddie Jones can do in that second place spot, if he'll have the momentum to catch up to Robinson, because MacArthur is gonna have plans of his own, but that will be interrupted as another caution flies, and I think it's gonna be another big one. Kilburn, Dodson, Hilton, all involved in that one. Kilburn's already taken a tow back to pit road, and let's check out the instant replay. It's just ahead. No, it's not. There's going to be two different crashes here, I think, and up and over goes Kilburn. Dodson also heavily involved in that one, as well as Tilton. And this may be the roughest OBRL race that I think we have broadcasted yet. And this will be the fifth caution of the night. And what a night it has been at Las Vegas. Not even halfway through today's main event, and they are dropping like flies, but the top five changes slightly. It's going to be Robinson, Jones, MacArthur, McDaniel, and Copeland in the top five. Let's see if anybody opts to come down pit road on this cycle. I don't think they will. Now, Victory Lane Sports raises a great point. Normally, the OBRL Metro Ford Cup Series mimics fairly well what the real-life NASCAR drivers are going to do. As we continue under eye-pacing conditions, Robinson and Jones still on the front row. Jones has been getting great launches tonight, so expect to see that number 14 machine to try and take over the race lead as quickly as he can. So we're going to get him gridded back up, double file. As Robinson and Jones get ready to set the pace late into the race. Well, I say late, not even to the halfway mark. It just feels late. The amount of cautions these drivers have been struggling with tonight. Pace car is in. And the green flag will fly at Las Vegas once more. Looks like Jones is going to answer on the inside line, wanting to get in front of Robinson as quickly as he possibly can. But now it's going to be Robinson trying to work the high line against Jones, almost a mere opposite of what we were seeing early on in the race behind those two. MacArthur and McDaniel trying to jockey for position as well, as Jones and Robinson still side by side, send it in deep into turn one. As Robinson will once again take over the race lead, getting some more laps led here in Las Vegas. It's Robinson, Jones, MacArthur. But how long will it be before we see that caution coming out once more? As I think relatively soon, as I near off track, cutting the grass. Bob Light also has problems, but no caution as Ignier brings it all the way down pit road. Opting to serve that penalty rather than come up in front of the racing surface. As you were on board with Josh Robinson, not doing a whole lot of fuel saving or tire saving, throwing it in there deep into turn one. Trying to put a gap over Jones. Jones right now 2/10 off the back of Robinson. But Jones is going to have company as here comes the fast Canadians, Wayne MacArthur. Constantly watching and waiting to see what he can do here. See where these drivers have been going, what they'll be doing, and taking as much data as he possibly can. MacArthur putting a heavy pressure onto Jones. Jones still 2/10 back from your race leader, Josh Robinson. Not quite to the halfway mark of today's event. "27 drivers still on the lead lap of today's main event, with a whole lot, I want to say about 10 to 11 drivers who have retired early. As now Robinson gets ready to cut through traffic once more. The top 4 drivers relatively spread out here. Robinson, Jones, MacArthur, and McDaniel have about a 2-second gap over 5th place Dale Copeland and the number 55 machine. Robinson extending that gap to about 4/10 over Jones. Jones going to try and stay in the draft, but Robinson's going to be a little bit careful here, slicing through traffic. Oh, doing it at the last second. That was the 78 machine of Kevin Eitnier, the one we saw with the massive save down pit road. He holds it up on the high line to allow these race leaders by. As this is where Robinson can be dangerous out front, clean air in front and behind him. Just has a little bit of traffic to manage, and then he's looking good to just focus on hitting his marks and keeping that forward momentum. Now that traffic has allowed Jones to close the gap once more to about 2/10 of a second, squarely in the draft of Josh Robinson's 23 Ford Mustang. Get report that Light had to take a tow back to pit road. That was Bob Light in the 97 machine. It'll be interesting to see if he's able to get back out on track or if he's done for the night. As traffic getting a little bit hairy here for your race leaders. Robinson looking for a way around. Doesn't want to get collected here with somebody that's not in the battle for the lead, or maybe Robinson trying to use that traffic to put a gap on himself and the other race leaders. But doesn't look like it's going to work well as the top 4 stay bunched up here. And they're gaining a whole lot of ground on 5th place back. Copeland has pressure from McRubbin. As we check out the battle for 5th on track, that's going to be between Copeland, McRubbin, Lewis Albee, Dan Hill, Brian Lynch all in the mix here. And again, these drivers are almost 4 seconds back from 4th place Greg McDaniel. Checking back in with Robinson. The sun looks like it's starting to very slowly go down for these drivers. I'm starting to see a little bit more shade on the track now. If we can get some cooler track temps, that can possibly lead to some faster lap times as well. But we are officially past the halfway mark today at the Metro Ford Cup Series. As always, thank you to our title sponsor, emetroford.com, as well as Kimball.net and Victory Lane Sports. 3 great companies coming together to make these shows possible each and every week. Couldn't do it without you guys. As the top 4 drivers putting on their own show, still Robinson, Jones, MacArthur, clicking off fast laps. They're consistently running about 2 to 3 tenths faster than the rest of the field at this point, so they're going to keep that momentum up as long as they can. I don't think you're going to see any of these drivers down pit road unless it's an absolute necessity. Now, I think the only thing that's really going to be threatening our top four here is when they're occasionally intermingled with traffic. At this point in the run, nobody really willing to make any big moves, sacrifice the tires, as they know Robinson out front will be burning just ever so slightly more fuel than everybody else in line. As Robinson just clicking off laps here at Las Vegas, making it look easy. They are officially over 5 seconds ahead of 5th place and back. So depending on strategy tonight, this could be a wild finish amongst the 4 drivers. Only 3 podium spots up for grabs. As we're going to go a little bit further back in the field, Kennedy makes a pass on Hill, but for how long as Hill tries to answer on the outside line, looks like he's going to opt to hop in the groove behind the 68 machine and just keep following along. This is the battle from about 5th place back to around 11th. Drivers still jockeying for position as somebody there has connection issues. I think that may be Lewis Albee in the number 33 Ford Mustang. As traffic hopping out of the way for some of the lead lap drivers. Up front, Jones starting to put the pressure on Robinson, showing him a wheel in that number 14 machine. Meanwhile, MacArthur and McDaniel are right there just waiting for a mistake from any of these top 2 drivers. Going to be very interesting to see how this breaks down. Expecting one more stop out of these drivers. As traffic will once again come into play, about 70 laps left to go for these drivers. How long will it be before we see these top 4 drivers that are making major ground here over the rest of the field before they opt to dive down pit road for some green flag stops, if we get a green flag stop tonight? As you remember, it was a rough start early on. We've had 5 cautions so far, and still plenty time for more. That was Bruce Pearson, the number 22 machine, hopping out of the way of the race leaders. Looks like we've got about 25 drivers on the lead lap. Some drivers having their way with Lady Luck here at Las Vegas, able to make up a whole lot of ground, while other drivers not having that luck they were looking for. A notable mention on that would be Dakota Pischke. He's now 25th on track after being a front runner, as now the 32 machine of John Hastings will go another lap down in that Tide painted Chevrolet. Now, it looks like things are kind of spreading out here amongst the top 4 drivers. Everybody taking it relatively easy, all things considered. But if we go back to Dan Hill in 6th place, he's still got his hands full with Joe Brown, Tim Kennedy, Lewis Albee, Brian McRubbin. As Kennedy trying to make his way forward. No, that's going to be the number 30 machine, 33 of Lewis Albee, making some ground late into this race, working his way back up into the 8th place spot in that number 33 Ford Mustang. Going to pan back up front. The race leader's getting a little bit closer once more. Robinson, has actually stretched that gap to Jones to 3/10. But again, the question is, when are we going to see that number 23 machine with the yellow numbers, sponsored by Micro Center, come down pit road? And that will be for his final stop of the night. If he can come in the next 3 to 4 laps, he will know he is good to the end. Now, that being said, judging by the early spree of cautions we had tonight, I would imagine Josh Robbins is going to stretch that fuel run out as long as he possibly can, despite the lap times are starting to plateau at this point. Last time by was a 31.4 out of Robinson. His fastest lap of the race, a 30.6. So definitely feeling the effects of tire wear. As some drivers start to come down pit road, John Hastings, Patrick Milligan doing their green flag stops. As cycling back to Dale Copeland, Dan Hill still linked up nose to tail. This is the battle for fifth. Copeland about 2/10 ahead of Hill, the triple-digit driver who, again, was not able to qualify, not allowed to qualify here at the Metro Ford Cup Series, has worked his way all the way up to sixth. That's quite an accomplishment. We'll see if he can keep that momentum going forward, as he really wants to find his way inside the top 5 if possible. Robert Garisco also coming down pit road, or yes, he was, so that'll be his green flag stop. So some drivers coming around the lap 105 mark. As your top 4 drivers stretching out a little bit. Greg McDaniel, it's going to be MacArthur with the first one down pit road. Getting it woed up heavily. So he's going to go for a bit of an undercut on Robinson and Jones. McDaniel finds himself in no man's land. He'll be about 1.2 seconds back from your race leader and no draft support ahead or behind here. So let's see when Robinson and Jones are going to come down pit road, as they will have, in theory, the freshest tires for this final sprint race if they stretch it out a little while longer. MacArthur off strategy. He's now showing 22nd on track. MacArthur in and out in just shy of 15 seconds, signaling he took 4 fresh Goodyears and a full tank of gas. Robinson's going to come down pit road. Jones stays out another lap. Looks like McDaniel's going to follow Robinson in as well. Now it'll be Jones up front, able to stretch his fuel out just ever so slightly longer. Dan Hill, Lewis Albee also coming down pit road, as it looks like it's Jones, Copeland, Brown, McRubbin, and Kennedy, your top 5. Going to stretch it out a little ways longer here. So finally having some green flag stops tonight. Now, if we're going to have another late race caution, it could be in the next few laps, as this is where drivers are going to be pressing the issue, coming out with fresh tires, trying to slice back up through the field. As how long is Jones going to stretch it out for here? Looks, he's getting lower and lower to that apron, coming out on 1 and 2. Looks like he may be practicing pit entries perhaps, or trying to make sure the car feels good, as he will be fighting the tire wear at this point of the race. No stage breaks here at OBRL. Just wide open racing start to finish, barring those cautions. So the top 5 drivers stretching out the fuel run as long as they possibly can. Warsdale comes down pit road as Ken Huff leaves pit lane. And Jones enjoying the limelight, 10 seconds ahead of Copeland, running second, McRubbin in third. But we may have something. Yes, we are. Tim Kennedy, Brian Lynch go off track. Bruce Pearson gets involved in that one. We're going to have a late race caution. That's going to put a whole lot of fast drivers a lap down here. What happened to, oh, look at the carnage there. So Bruce Pearson gets absolutely clobbered in that one. Let's watch that one once more from Pearson's point of view. Pearson, I'm trying to see who he got into there. That's Pearson, Lynch, Kennedy all involved in that one. And that's going to bring out a late race caution that's going to throw a wrench in a lot of things. So Jones, who kept on the throttle, that's going to help him massively. Being able to pit under yellow instead of green flag, that puts Robinson and MacArthur a lap down here. Now we had one of our fans ask if Kennedy got disqualified, a very low incident limit. He does show completely off the race surface here, so may have hit that limit en masse there. But how is this going to affect things in the final run? 45 laps left to go. It'll be about 43 once we take green flag conditions again. The fairly quiet pit road behind Eddie Cajun Jones. He's going to come out on track second behind Brian Lynch, number 15 machine. Lynch maybe just trying to get a lap back here. Josh Robinson now showing in 8th. Where's Dwayne MacArthur going to be at? Still showing 15th for the Fast Canadian. This is a tough spot to be in for these drivers. Do they take tires despite being further back in the field? Because they know your race leader, Eddie Jones, certainly did. So Jones can go all the way to the end here under relatively fast conditions. Robinson comes down pit road late after the caution after getting his lap back. MacArthur is waiting for the wave around, I believe. Oh, that doesn't spell good news for the Fast Canadian. Now we know he has the fuel to make it to the end. Will the tires be that important for MacArthur? As he will be on about 9 laps older tires than your race leader Eddie Jones, who's waiting for a slew of drivers in front of him to get waved around the pace car. Showing about 20 drivers in the lead lap. We're going to wait for that to update. As some of the drivers come down pit road, MacArthur still waiting for his wave around. Looks like about 7 or 8 drivers in front of Eddie Jones who will be getting that wave around here. As we get them gridded up, it's going to be Jones and McRubbin the front row, Glass, Copeland your second row, Fletcher and Hess the top your third row. The top 10 has wildly changed here tonight, as Robinson and MacArthur, who were race leaders, they'll be showing 14th and 15th on this start. But they did come in, Robinson at least came in a lap 115. MacArthur hasn't come in since lap 105. Wait with bated breath. The green flag comes out here in Las Vegas. Jones with a massive launch. Now Jones's biggest competition was Josh Robinson. Robinson now way back in 13th. Still a lot of time to make some moves, but we're going to have that party interrupted as Al Turner bouncing hard across the outside wall. Jeff Lydon all the way down the infield. Surely this will bring out a caution as Turner holding on for dear life as the field comes around. So far, no caution as of yet. Want to make sure, yes, Turner still got all of his wheels there. As Jones out front and in charge. You can pull up the live time on the left side of your screen. It's Jones, Glass, McRubbin, Copeland, Fletcher, your top 5. Robinson and MacArthur have already worked up to 10th and 11th there. Narrowly avoiding that caution coming out. I can't believe it didn't come out. "40 laps left to go." Ryan Glass starting to catch up to Eddie Jones. There's a whole lot of new names and faces suddenly in podium contention. So now Glass and McRubbin seeing a potential podium ahead, but Robert Garisco also going for a wild ride, and the caution does come out as Jonathan Green shows involved in an incident. And I believe he may have hit the limit as well because he is going, gone. Let's see what happened to the 37 machine. Looks like he's going to get loose all on his lonesome, and then he's going to get a little bit of help from his friends. The number 26 machine bounces into him. Green, oh no, that's Josh Robinson also involved in that. Oh my goodness, things are changing and not for the better, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go on board with Josh Robinson. And this is where he... Oh my goodness, Robinson just goes underneath. But the iRacing gods may have smiled in the fortune of the 23 machine, as I'm not seeing a whole lot of damage on the front of that thing, so he may have gotten extremely lucky here and avoided any damage. Now to our viewers at home that are maybe watching friends and family compete in a sim racing event for the first time, what can happen is sometimes the iRacing connection, if you will, doesn't pick up on all the incidents as quick as it needs to. Just too much going on, and drivers from all across the world sending data to each other. So what may have happened there, this sim may have not registered the damage on the front of the 23 machine, Josh Robinson, as he's in and out very quickly. So I think Robinson got comically lucky. I'm talking lottery ticket lucky here. As now Robinson and MacArthur take 4 fresh tires, come out on track 8th and 9th together. So keep an eye on those two, as I'm expecting them to start charging through the field here. Still a long way to go for these drivers. Jones, Glass, McRubbin, your top 3. Copeland and Buscemi will round out the top 5 here. They all opt to stay out on about 8-lap older tires, then 7th place back. So it'll be Jones and Glass on the front row. I don't know if there's been a restart tonight that Jones hasn't been on the front row. A little bit of luck and a whole lot of talent has allowed the number 14 machine to stay out front. As we get ready for the pace car to come in, not sure what's going to happen here at Las Vegas. As you've got Jones and Glass on the front row, but we're still interested to see what's going to happen to Robinson and MacArthur, 2 other front-running cars that got caught out with the yellow flags tonight. Pace car is in, green flag is out. Away goes Jones and Glass. Jones on the outside line, Glass on the inside line, the Kodiak back number 87 machine. It's Chevrolet running 1 and 2. Toyota rounds out the podium with Brian McRubbin. These guys are racing like it's the last 5 laps, still side by side through turns 3 and 4. looks like it's going to be Jones crossing the start-finish line about 0.03 of a second ahead of Glass, but we've got more carnage as Andrew Hess enters pit lane the hard way. And oh my, I think Dwayne MacArthur was tied up in that one. That's not the right angle. Ooh, back that up. Oh, MacArthur with nowhere to go. Couldn't have even seen it coming. Watch the right side of your screen as the driver trying to hold on to it careens up the track and just doors MacArthur like he owes him money. Andrew Hess also involved in that one. The hits just keep coming. MacArthur locking it up, but man, he's going to hit everything but the podium tonight as he gets absolutely bounced around. What heartbreak for the fast Canadian, seeing that hat trick possibility yanked away from him. I'm trying to think, was that Buscemi maybe involved in the first incident? But Andrew Hess's aggressive pit lane also quite impressive. But watch Hess in the number 54 machine trying to avoid the 56 of Joey Buscemi. And that also raises the question, what on earth happened to Buscemi? Let's back this up and see where things went wrong. I almost wonder if Buscemi got loose on his own there. Kind of looks like it, tries to hold on to it. And that was a fast crash for all the drivers involved. I think that's our 7th caution of the night. And just absolutely gutted some of the fan favorites. Tom Ogle, Dwayne MacArthur having a very rough night, all things considered. We're going to see how long MacArthur's in pit road for, but judging by the damage we saw in that incident, I'm going to guess it's quite a long time. So looks like our top 6 drivers still staying out. And then from about 7th place back, you've got a slew of drivers who came on lap 122 or later to take tires or possibly repairs. I don't know if I can remember a rougher race for some of these guys. We had 4 cautions at Daytona. We had 7 cautions at Auto Club, so Drivers still getting in the groove as far as these next-gen Cup cars go, and things keep getting a little bit more spicy and dicey week in and week out. It'll be 28 laps left to go on this restart. And still anybody's guess who's going to make it till the end, much less win it at Las Vegas. Here we go. 28 laps left to go. Jones and Glass still on the front row. Brian McRubbin looking for a move early on in the 09 machine. Gail Copeland also in the fray, but we've got Glass and Jones still side by side. Looks like Jones holding on to that middle groove for all he's got. Glass tucks in behind as Brian McRubbin also trying to make some moves. Now we did get a report from pit road. Dwayne MacArthur has rejoined the track, but he is now 13th after an extended stay in pit road and most likely driving with damage here. Josh Robinson's moved up to 5th. And you can count on that 23 machine to try and charge forward as hard as he can to try and salvage some points here today. As Glass and Jones still side by side diving into turn 1. Glass on the inside line, the 87. Jones on the high line, the 42. Showing Jones ahead by 0.02 of a second here. Glass trying to stay glued to that inside line. Jones has been running that mid to high line all night long, able to carry a little bit more momentum. But now you've got Brian McRubbin, William Fletcher joining the fray as well. They're going to give their draft support. Looks like McRubbin giving his draft to, it's going to be Glass on the inside line. But still, it shows Jones at the line by 0.03 of a second. They're going to send it in deep into turn 1. Now the race leaders are going side by side. That's going to allow the likes of McRubbin, Fletcher, Robinson, Copeland, Milligan to reel into this lead pack ever so slightly. As now lap traffic is going to come into play for some of these drivers. As Jones has comfortably taken over the lead, but for how long? As we know, Brian Glass has been itching to get up there and challenge for the lead. Right behind them, it looks like Fletcher trying to make an inside move against Brian McRubbin. McRubbin in the Duff Beer sponsored 09. As we go somewhat single file from about 1st to 8th place. Fletcher has moved up in the third place spot. McRubbin's dropped back to fifth, but look at this. Josh Robinson joining the fray, now running fourth on the circuit. He came in a lap 122, so he's got about 8 laps newer tires than the race leader. And that could play a factor if we go green, but boy, oh boy, is that a big if here at Las Vegas. Right now, we wait for live timing to update. There we go. It's Glass, Jones, Fletcher, Robinson, Copeland, your top 5. 20 laps left to go here at Las Vegas. As these next-gen cars go bouncing around through turns 3 and 4. Oh man, the top 4 drivers all right here with each other. Fletcher trying to hold on to a podium spot, but he knows Josh Robinson behind him has a whole lot of pace. Robinson looks to the inside line of Fletcher, trying to pick up the draft from Jones and Glass. Traffic comes into play. The field tries to condense down onto the low line. And Robinson's moved up to third, just behind Eddie Jones. Brian Glass, your race leader. Fletcher tries to answer very quickly. Jones takes over the lead once more for Glass, but Robinson's going to try and look for a weak spot here amongst the top two drivers. Slicing and dicing, but Fletcher's not going to make that easy. Number 6 machine, he looks to the inside line of Robinson, picking up the draft from Glass down the backstretch. But it looks like Fletcher's going to be left in no man's land here. Forced to send it in deep in turn 3 and do it the old-fashioned way, burning up the rubber. But we know Robinson's just got a little bit more tire there as we were briefly going too wide, too deep. Jones still in front of Glass. Now Fletcher on the inside line, taking over third place once more. He's going to stay on that bottom groove. Meanwhile, Dale Copeland, Brian McRubbin watching this show intently to see what's going to happen. Still plenty of time for some more crashes as we go Jones, Glass, Robinson, your top 3. Robinson and Fletcher still going back and forth for the third place spot. Now it's Fletcher on the inside line, door to door with Robinson. And here we go, around goes Fletcher. And that'll be another big incident. It looks like Fletcher, Copeland involved in that one. Fletcher, I can't tell. Oh, that's going to be a tough one to call. Did Robinson come down? Did Fletcher go up? Who's to blame for this one? Let's slow that one down. So that's Fletcher on the inside, Robinson on the high side. We're using those lanes there as a reference mark. It sure looks like Robinson came down, tagged the back end of Fletcher. And then Fletcher absolutely drills the outside wall. And there's poor Copeland also getting tagged in that one. I think McRubbin may have got him. Welcome to Las Vegas, where there's more hits than a Cher concert. So many drivers have been knocked out of today's main event, but it's still Jones, Glass, Robinson, Hill, and McRubbin, your top 5. Now ignore the caution counter. I believe we're on caution 7 or 8. We had a little bit of a blink with the live timing software, so it's not updating the caution numbers correctly. A lot of drivers down pit road. This may be the lightest lead lap car count I think we've ever seen. So it looks like 14 drivers on the lead lap out of 43 that entered. It's going to be 11 to go on this restart. And we do have 2 green-white checker attempts at our disposal if need be. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Robinson will be joining Eddie Jones on the front row. He's got 8-lap newer tires. What can Jones do here to hold on? As it will be 10 laps left to go on this restart. We've made it still 14 drivers on the lead lap. Keep an eye out as well. Dakota Pischke came in a lap 128. Looks like he took tires, so he's going to have some very fresh rubber on there. And then from 9th place back, you've got a bunch of drivers who came in a lap 147 for fresh tires. So we're about to see a knockdown, drag-out fight here in the remaining laps at Las Vegas for the Metro Ford Cup Series. Pace car is in. And away they go for what could be the final time. Jones is going to defend like his life depends on it here, as it's currently showing Robinson. Patrick Milligan's rejoined the top three as well. Milligan also on a lap 122 tire strategy. Looks like Milligan working the highliners right behind them. I think that was Brown and Warsdale have a big moment themselves. Jones still fighting tooth and nail for that race lead. He's got Robinson 2 tenths behind him. Now, some of our fans pointing out Josh Robinson may be looking to be serving a stop-and-go penalty, a self-policing policy they have here at the Metro Ford Cup Series, basically saying if you're involved in another driver, and from my understanding is if the caution doesn't come out, you have to serve either a stop-and-go if it's green flag, or a self-assign yourself an EOL if the caution does come out. Now, interesting enough, it looks like Robinson's hood is updated. It is missing from the 23 machine. I believe it looks like the hood is missing. So the aero damage showing a little bit late there for Josh Robinson. So now the question is, will he make the race and try and bring home the win? Or is this going to be all for naught, as he may be serving a post-race disqualification? It's going to be interesting to see here. Eddie Jones still out front by a quarter of a second. Milligan third, Hill fourth, Warsdale fifth. Well done to Hill as well, being inside the top five in the triple-digit Chevrolet. Not able to qualify, but currently up 30 spots, sitting comfortably in fourth. 4 laps left to go as your race leader, Eddie Jones, crosses the line. And now Milligan's taken over second. Robinson drops back to fourth. And now fifth. Robinson falling off the pace, allowing Eddie Jones to get that momentum up, as here comes Dan Hill, the triple-digit driver, looking to put some pressure on Patrick Milligan to take over second. As now McRubbin and Milligan go side by side. 2 laps left to go. The white flag will fly this time by. Are we going to see the triple-digit driver, Dan Hill, put the pressure on Eddie Jones? He's on much fresher tires. He came in a lap 147. But he does not have a lot of time left to do it as the white flag is out. It's Eddie Jones, Dan Hill, Brian McRubbin, your top 3. Milligan and Robinson rounding out the top 5. Looks like McRubbin taking a shot at Hill, not quite able to make it happen. Lap traffic going high to avoid interfering with the race leader. This is the final time. Are we going to see Dan Hill try and pull something here? Is Eddie Jones going to bring it home in Las Vegas? It looks like it's going to be Jones as they make their way across the checkered. It's Eddie Jones, Dan Hill, Brian McRubbin rounding out the top three tonight. Well done. Some first-time winners, a triple-digit driver up on the podium, and some new names and faces. Well done to the guys out here tonight. After what started off as a rough race, kind of carried on for a while, but led to some fantastic racing out on track. As our drivers line up for their photos. Well done to all three of these drivers, bringing it home here at the end at Las Vegas. You can see Brian McRubbin looking a little bit worse for wear in the 09 machine. But now it's time for Eddie Jones to burn it down in style. And he will do so, enjoying the limelight here. His first win of the season, the number 14 machine. Well done to Eddie Cajun Jones. Definitely earned it here tonight, and he's going to burn it down for us. As we saw a lot of very fast and talented drivers unable to make it home tonight, or at least back to victory lane, after one of the most caution-filled races I think I've ever called here at OBRL. But Eddie Jones is going to thoroughly enjoy the moment. Before returning back down pit road to get ready for his interview. We're going to wait for those top three drivers. We've got Jones, Hill, and McRubbin on their third and final call. As we wait for everybody to make their way up here. I gotta say, I was expecting to maybe a green-white checker condition there at the end. As we've got Eddie Jones getting ready to stage, waiting on Brian McRubbin and Dan Hill to join us. All right, let's get this party started, ladies and gentlemen. Up first, we got Brian McRubbin in the 09 machine. Brian, you got a copy?
I do, yes, sir.
Brian, welcome to Victory Lane, my friend. The Pennsylvania native bringing it home at the end after what was probably the wildest Metro Ford Cup Series race I think I've seen before.
Yeah, it was a it was a lot going on, man. I had a couple issues with some damage on my front end. I was able to get it cleared up without too much trouble, and then just brought it home in third place. So I'm really happy with that one.
Now, Brian, I believe this is your first podium of the season, getting a little bit more comfortable with some of the drivers out on track. I mean, what do you think led to such a tough night at Las Vegas for so many drivers?
Well, you got to look at the cold tires, man. When you got new tires and they were cold, especially the bottom line, it was real twitchy loose. You could even lose it in the tri-oval if you weren't real careful. So yeah, just cold tires. The setup was loose to begin with, and yeah, it was just a handful. So it was not an easy car to handle until the tires came in.
Now, Josh, Brian, next week we go to, it's going to be Phoenix Raceway. You think that's going to be a little bit easier on the guys, a little bit tougher, or what are you expecting under the hot Arizona sun?
Yeah, that the flat turn on Phoenix is going to be a difficult one to maneuver, especially with this new package, cold tires, this new tire model with the temperatures in it. It's going to be really interesting on the flat turn, I think. So my plan at this point is just to take it easy early. Try to keep the nose clean and see what happens by the end of the race there.
Well, Brian did a great job tonight, man. Congratulations on a hard-fought third place. Who tried to give a shout out to? Friends, family, sponsors that's cheering you on this season.
Well, I want to shout out to Tifosi Racing, of course, iRacers Lounge podcast, and everybody else who's here helping me out along the way.
Awesome, Brian. Good time talking to you. Congratulations again, and I hope to see you carry that streak forward into Phoenix next week.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
That was Brian McRubbin in the 09 machine. Up next, we've got the triple-digit driver, Dan Hill, in the 112. Dan, well done tonight, showing up 32 positions, and most importantly, a relatively clean car at the end of this thing. Oh, Dan, whatever's going on with your mic is not good. Try it again, Dan. We got a bunch of feedback on that one and no words.
Is that better?
There we go. We've got Dan Hill after the Morse code podium speech. Yeah, Dan, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. It was, pretty wild start there at the very beginning, having to start all the way from the back. But it was, just my whole thing was just trying to stay clean the whole race because I knew it was going to be a war of attrition with as loose the car is, especially going into 1 and 2. I'm just glad to get it back, somewhat in one piece.
Now, Dan, with your triple digits, we know that's signified for either new or returning drivers. Which of those camps do you fall under? Are you new to the Metro Ford Cup Series? Are you a longtime member coming back out and racing? Or how'd you end up with the triple digit?
New to the league. This is, I think, my 6 weeks. Probably actually gonna be my last week, I think, as a triple digit. I've been looking for a league for a while. Me, Kevin Strandberg, and John Hinchcliffe were our team, and we've been searching for a while for a competitive one. And this one, let me tell you, this is a really great league they've got going.
Yeah, I can't tell. I've broadcasted, I don't know, 30, 40 of these Metro Ford Cup Series events so far, and I can't recall the last time a triple-digit driver put up on the podium. And again, for our fans at home that are just tuned in, the triple-digit driver is unable to qualify. So how was it not being able to qualify and having to slice and dice through a packed 43-car grid after 8-9 cautions? And, yeah, how did you keep that 112 machine clean?
I've just really been concentrating on the last few weeks of just racing. The last couple of races had been competitive, but I made some boneheaded mistakes myself, and and then just getting caught up in the accidents, and it's just learning that you can't get on the brakes and you can't get off the gas when someone wrecks. You kind of got to let off just a little bit to try to keep it in control, and it's just about trying to predict what's going on and trying to be cautious. It's real difficult. It's not easy.
Well, Dan, great job. I know you had a rough start early this season, but good to see you up here again, up 32 spots. Well done, and looking forward to having you out on track with that double-digit number and maybe see if qualifying will improve your chances at a race win. But again, pumped to have you a part of the OBRL family, and absolutely fantastic to see you up here in the second-place spot. Who'd like to give a shout-out to friends, family, sponsors that's cheering you on this season?
I just want to give a huge shout out to my teammates John Hinchcliffe and Kevin Strandberg, because they're without them I probably wouldn't be in this league and I wouldn't be back on iRacing really grinding again. So glad to have them back and glad to be back.
Awesome. Daniel, congratulations, my friend. Hope to see you do well next week at Phoenix, and thank you greatly for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That was Dan Hill finishing second here tonight in the triple-digit number. And up next, we've got Eddie Jones, the world famous, bringing it home in the top spot, my friend. Good to have you up here.
Yeah, glad to be here, James.
Now, Eddie, we were all kind of keeping eyes on MacArthur early on, and then Robinson was a late race challenger. But throughout the night, I want to say you've led 80, 90% of the laps here tonight in that number 14 machine.
Well, I can tell you it wasn't easy. Raced with Josh a lot the first third, half the race, and then cautions. Then Brian got up there and actually got around me and didn't know how I was going to get back by him, but somehow did. And then had that late charge from Daniel and Brian McRubbin, and whew, it was just, if this is any indication of how the rest of the year is going to go, man, it's going to be action-packed.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some of the most cautions we've seen, and we've seen you've really got the starts dialed in out of that number 14 Chevrolet. You got a whole lot of practice out of it as well, but do you think track position was the most important thing you found tonight? Were you valuing that more so than fresher tires?
I don't want to answer that because I know a lot of these guys on here watch this stream, but yes, absolutely, track position's huge.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, it looked like the cautions were coming out from, I think, as far up as fifth, but mostly mid-pack. And late in that race, we saw a lot of fast drivers getting collected. I mean, did you have a plan coming into tonight to keep that number 14 machine clean, or was it just running it wide and seeing what happened?
Well, I knew if I could pit and get tires on it with 40 to go, I probably wasn't coming back in no matter what. And it almost cost me there at the end. I mean, Daniel and Brian did a good job coming back up there, and they all, another 2-3 laps they'd have probably got me. So, I mean, it just worked out perfect.
Well, Eddie, congratulations, my friend. First time up here at the top spot this season. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come. Always a great time talking to you. And you have the distinct privilege, my friend, of getting the final send-off. Any friends, family, sponsors you want to give a shout-out to, the floor is wide open for you, Eddie.
Absolutely. I want to give my nemesis / buddy condolences. He had some internet troubles today. Tom Ogle. Really wished he'd have been out there. Hope you're out there next week, buddy.
Well, awesome. Eddie, congratulations on first, my friend. Always a good time seeing you. And, again, hope to see that carry that success forward. And congratulations on a very hard-fought win tonight.
Yep. Thanks, James. Good job, buddy.
Thank you, Eddie. And that was Eddie the Cajun Jones bringing it home in the top spot after a wild night here at Las Vegas. We saw good racing. We saw big crashes. And we saw another first-time winner tonight with Eddie Jones in the top spot, Dan Hill finishing second, and Brian McRubbin finishing third. As always, on behalf of the Old Bastards Racing League as well as eMetro4.com, I'm your host, James East, with Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, wishing you all a happy and safe Sunday afternoon, and I will see you same time, same place next week. Have a great day, everyone.